There is something more dangerous than finding trouble. It is saving something that trouble belongs to. Because Neve did not know the bleeding German shepherd lying in the rain was connected to powerful men. She did not know the dog had a name. She did not know people were already searching for it. And she definitely did not know that by carrying that animal into her small apartment. She had just stepped into a world where rich men gave orders, dangerous men followed them, and mistakes were punished without mercy. That night, Neve thought she was saving a life. She had no idea she was making herself a target. Welcome to the mafia's obsession, where power, danger, and obsession collide. Tonight's story is not just about a poor girl and a dying dog. It is about loyalty. It is about secrets. And it is about what happens when kindness crosses the path of men who believe everything can be owned. Because once Neve touched that dog, nothing in her life would ever be simple again. Neve was used to being ignored. At 22, she had already learned how cold life could be. She worked long hours at a small grocery store near the edge of the city. The pay was low. The work was tiring. But it kept food in her kitchen and the lights on in her tiny apartment. That night, rain fell so hard it made the streets shine like black glass. Neve pulled her thin jacket tighter and hurried down the sidewalk. Her shoes were wet. Her hands were cold. All she wanted was to get home, eat noodles, and sleep. Then she heard it, a low sound, weak, painful. She stopped walking. At first, she thought it was the wind moving through the alley. But then she heard it again, a small cry. Not human, not loud, but enough to make her turn. Near a broken streetlight, half hidden behind a trash bin, lay a large German shepherd. Neve froze. The dog was badly hurt. Rain soaked its fur, making the dark coat cling to its body. One side of it was stained with blood. Its chest moved slowly, like every breath hurt. For 1 second, Neve thought about walking away. A dog that big could be dangerous. A wounded dog could bite. And she had no money for a vet, no family to call, and no room in her life for problems. But then the dog lifted its head. Its eyes met hers, and what she saw there was not anger. It was pain, and something else, something that felt too familiar. Neve took one careful step forward. The dog did not growl. It did not bare its teeth. It just watched her with tired, heavy eyes, as if it was trying to decide whether she was safe. "Hey," she whispered, holding out a shaking hand. "I'm not going to hurt you." The rain ran down her face as she knelt beside it. Up close, the wound looked worse. A deep cut stretched across the dog's side, and blood mixed with rainwater on the ground. Someone had hurt this animal badly. Neve swallowed hard. This was not a street dog. She could tell from the thick collar around its neck and the strong shape of its body. This dog had been trained. It looked powerful, even while lying half dead in the rain. She touched its neck gently. Still no growl. Still no fight. Only a slow blink. That was all it took. Neve sighed. "Fine," she muttered. "You win." Getting the dog home was harder than she expected. It was heavy and weak, leaning against her as she pulled and guided it through the empty street. Her arms ached. Her back burned. Twice she almost slipped, but the dog kept trying to stand. It kept trying to help. By the time they reached her apartment building, Neve was out of breath. She managed to get the dog upstairs into her room and onto an old blanket near the bed. Then she crouched beside it and looked at the blood on her hands. "This better not ruin my life," she whispered. The dog opened its eyes, and for some reason, that silence felt like a warning. Neva cleaned the wound with warm water, a torn shirt, and the last bit of medicine she had in her bathroom drawer.
Easy does it.
The dog never
Being
snapped
so
at her.
brave.
It only watched.
It's all finished
That
now.
was the strange part. The most injured animals would fight if a stranger touched them. But this one stayed still, calm and alert, as if it understood she was trying to help. Every now and then, its ears moved at the smallest sound outside the window. It was hurt, but it was still listening, still watching, still ready. Neva finished wrapping the wound with a clean cloth and sat back on her heels. There
you go.
she said
Easy
softly.
does it.
That's the
You're
best
being
I can
so
do.
brave.
The dog rested
It's
its
all
head on the
finished now.
blanket, but did not close its eyes. Neve reached for the collar, meaning only to loosen it a little. That was when she saw it. A metal tag hidden beneath the leather. Not the cheap kind most dog owners used. This one was smooth, heavy, and engraved with neat letters.
Hey, it's
Haenguni
okay.
Neva
I've got
frowned.
you. You're safe now. But do you hear
Haenguni?
me?
The dog
Haenguni.
lifted its head
That's your
at
name,
once.
huh?
She blinked. That's your name? Haenguni stared at her, and for the first time that night, Neve felt a chill that had nothing to do with the rain. This dog knew its own name. She rubbed the tag with her thumb and noticed something else on the back. A tiny symbol carved into the metal. It looked like a mark, maybe a family sign or a group symbol. She did not understand it, but it felt important, expensive, dangerous. Neve slowly let the collar fall back into place. Outside, thunder rolled across the sky. Inside, Haenguni kept staring at the door, as if he knew someone would come. Across the city, the rain touched the windows of a glass tower high above the streets. Inside the top-floor office, everything was quiet. Too quiet. 3 men stood in dark suits, their heads slightly lowered. No one moved carelessly. No one spoke without reason. At the center of the room, near the wide window, stood Cho Yang-yun. He was older than the others, with silver at the sides of his hair and a face that showed very little. His hands rested behind his back as he looked down at the city lights below. "Say it again," he said. One of the men swallowed. "We lost Haenguni near the lower district." The room grew colder. Cho Yang-un turned slowly. "Lost?" The single word felt sharper than a knife. The man quickly lowered his eyes. "He was attacked during transport. We found blood. No body." That made Cho Yang-un still. No body. That meant the dog might still be alive. And if Haenguni was alive, then someone else might already have him. Cho stepped toward the desk and pressed a button on his phone. "Inform Chilsung-pa." The other men straightened at once. No one in that room needed an explanation. Chilsung-pa was not a name people used lightly. It was a name tied to power, fear, money, and violence. If this matter reached them, the search would not remain quiet for long. Cho looked back at the rain-covered city. "Find the dog," he said. His voice was low, controlled, deadly. "And if anyone has him," he added, "bring me their name before sunrise." Neve looked at the door, then at Haenguni, then back at the door again. Her throat felt dry. "We're looking for a dog." The words replayed in her head, slow, heavy, dangerous. Haenguni did not move away from her. Instead, he stepped closer, his body now fully between her and the door, protecting her, not hiding, not afraid, protecting. That was when Neve realized something that made her chest tighten. This wasn't a normal situation. This wasn't someone asking questions. This was someone who already knew the answer.
It's okay.
Another
I've
knock.
got you. You're safe
Harder
now,
this
but do you
time.
hear me?
"Open the
Haenguni.
door." No anger, no shouting, just certainty. the kind of voice that didn't expect to be ignored. Neve's fingers curled slightly as she slowly stood up. Her legs felt weak. Her mind was racing. How did they know? Who were they? Why did it feel like opening that door would change everything? She took one small step forward, and Haenguni growled. Low, deep, a warning. Not to her, to them. Silence fell on the other side of the door. Then, a second voice spoke, colder, more controlled. Interesting. A pause. Then,
So he chose
so he
you.
chose you.
He's not going anywhere.
You don't
Neve
understand what you're
froze.
holding.
Her heart
understand enough.
skipped. Chose? Before she could think, the door handle moved, slowly, deliberately, from the outside. And in that moment, Neva realized something terrifying. They were not asking for permission anymore. There is something more dangerous than being found, being recognized. Because the moment the man outside that door said, "So he chose you," everything changed. This was no longer about a missing dog. It was about a decision that should not have happened. Because Haenguni was trained, controlled, loyal to one man, and yet, he stood in front of Neve, protecting her. That meant one thing. Something had broken, and men like them do not tolerate broken control. The handle turned slowly. Neve didn't move. She couldn't. Her body felt frozen between fear and confusion. Then, the door opened. Two men stepped in first, both dressed in dark suits, clean, sharp, controlled. Their eyes scanned the room in seconds, taking in everything: the bed, the window, Neve, and then the dog. They stopped. Haenguni didn't step back. He stood firm. A low growl vibrated through the room. The men exchanged a quick look. Surprise, not fear, but something close. Then a third man entered, slower, calmer, more dangerous. He didn't rush. He didn't need to. The air changed the moment he stepped inside. Neve felt it, without knowing why. The man's eyes landed on Haenguni first. Not on her, not on the room. Only the dog. And for the first time, Haenguni didn't move forward. He stayed exactly where he was, in front of Neve. The man tilted his head slightly, studying, understanding. Then, he finally looked at her, and Neve felt it instantly. This man was not like the others. He wasn't just searching. He already knew. The man took one step forward. "Step aside," he said calmly. Neve didn't move, not because she was brave, but because her body refused to respond. Haenguni's growl deepened, louder now, clearer, a warning. The two men behind him shifted slightly, ready to act, but the older man raised a hand. They stopped immediately. Control, absolute. His eyes never left the dog. "Haenguni," he said quietly. The name hung in the air. The dog's ears twitched, but he did not go to him. That was when something changed, just slightly, in the man's expression. Not anger, not shock, but interest. Slow, careful, dangerous interest. He turned his gaze back to Neve. "You found him," he said. It wasn't a question. Neve swallowed. I helped him," she said softly. The man studied her for a long second, then nodded once. "Yes," he said, "you did." A pause, then his voice dropped slightly. "But you shouldn't have." Neve's heart began to race again. "What do you mean?" she asked. The man didn't answer immediately. Instead, he walked slowly around the room, calm, measured, like he was already in control of everything. His eyes scanned the small apartment, the thin mattress, the worn walls, the quiet life. Then he stopped, right in front of her. "Do you know who he belongs to?" he asked. Neve shook her head. The man gave a faint smile. Not kind, not warm, just knowing. "He belongs to Chilsung Pa," The name meant nothing to her. But the reaction behind him, that told her everything. The two men in suits straightened slightly. On more alert, more serious. Like the room itself had become heavier. Neve felt it, even without understanding. The man leaned slightly closer. Where I come from, he continued softly, we do not lose things. His eyes dropped briefly to Haenguni, then back to her. And we do not share them. Come, the man said, turning slightly. It was a simple command. Quiet, confident, final. Haenguni didn't move. The room went still. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3. Nothing. The man's expression didn't change, but something behind his eyes did. Haenguni. This time, the tone was firmer, still calm, still controlled, but with weight, authority, the kind that should not be ignored. The dog took 1 step forward, but not toward him, toward Neve. Closer, protective, choosing. The silence that followed was different, heavier. The two men behind shifted again, unsure now, waiting. The older man, Cho Yang-eun, watched carefully, then slowly, very slowly, a faint smile touched his lips. Not amused, not pleased, interested. Interesting, he murmured. His eyes lifted to Neve again, and this time, they didn't see a stranger. They saw a problem. Cho Yang-eun straightened. His posture relaxed, but the room felt tighter, smaller, more dangerous. You have 2 options, he said calmly. Neve didn't speak, didn't breathe properly, didn't look away. Option 1, he continued. You step aside, and we take him. His gaze shifted briefly to Haenguni, then back. And this ends here. Then, option 2. His voice softened, almost gentle, which somehow made it worse. You don't. Neve's fingers tightened slightly. Her voice came out low. What happens if I don't? The room went silent again. Cho Yang-eun looked at her, really looked at her this time. Then he answered. We come back. A beat. And next time. His eyes flicked toward the door, then back to her. We won't knock. Haenguni stepped closer to Neve, standing firm, unmoving, choosing again. And in that moment, Cho Yang-eun understood something clearly. This was no longer just retrieval. This was something else. Something that could not be forced. He turned slightly toward the door, then paused. And one more thing, he added quietly. Neve's breath caught. Cho Yang-eun looked back at her, cold, certain. You should leave this place. A beat. Because now... His eyes dropped briefly to Haenguni, then returned to her. They know where you are. Because the truth was no longer hidden. Neve was not just helping a dog anymore. She was standing between powerful men and something they refused to lose. And somewhere beyond that door, others were already moving, not to ask, not to warn, but to take. The door closed, soft, quiet, final. Neve didn't move, not for a long time. Her eyes stayed fixed on the door like it might open again at any second. Haenguni stood beside her, still alert, still watching, still ready. They're gone, she whispered, but it didn't feel true. Nothing felt normal anymore. The air in the room felt heavy, like something had been left behind. Not an object, a presence, a warning. Neve slowly turned to the dog. Who are they? She asked quietly. Haenguni didn't respond. Of course he didn't. But he didn't relax either. He walked toward the door, stopped, listened, then turned back to her. That was when Neve understood something clearly. They might have left, but this was not over. Not even close. Neve sat down slowly and pulled the collar forward again. Her fingers trembled slightly as she studied the metal tag. Haenguni and that symbol. She hadn't paid attention before, but now it felt important. Too clean, too precise, not decoration. A mark, ownership, power. Neve grabbed her phone and turned on the light. She stared at the symbol closely, then tried searching it. Nothing clear came up, just fragments, old images, articles she didn't fully understand. But one word appeared more than once. Organization. Her chest tightened. This wasn't just a rich owner. This was something bigger, something hidden, something dangerous. Behind her, Haenguni let out a low sound. Not a growl, a warning. Neve turned quickly. What is it? The dog was staring at the window now, still, focused, like he heard something she couldn't. And suddenly, the room didn't feel safe anymore. It started with a shadow. Quick, gone, but enough. Neve froze. Did you see that? She whispered. Haenguni moved instantly, faster than before. He stepped in front of her again. But this time, it was different. This wasn't protection. This was preparation. A low growl filled the room. Stronger, sharper. Then, a sound. Not a knock, a shift. Metal against metal. The window. Neve's heart jumped into her throat. No! She stepped back slowly, but Haenguni didn't. He moved forward, closer to the window, ready. Then, the glass moved, just slightly, enough. A hand appeared from the outside, then another. For a split second, everything felt unreal, like a nightmare. Then the window forced open, and someone started climbing in. The man barely made it halfway through before Haenguni attacked. Fast, precise, explosive. The growl turned into a force Neve had never heard before. The dog lunged, teeth locked. The man shouted, falling backward through the window. A crash, a heavy thud outside. Silence. Then, more movement, more shadows. Neve stumbled back, shaking. Oh my God! Her voice barely came out. Haenguni didn't stop. He stayed by the window, watching, waiting, ready again. Because there wasn't just one, there were more. Footsteps outside, fast now, coordinated. Not random, they weren't guessing. They knew exactly where to go. Neve turned in panic. What do we do? She whispered. But deep down, she already knew. Running, that was the only option left. Neve grabbed her jacket quickly. Her hands shook as she looked around the small room. There was nothing to take. Nothing to protect. Nothing to hold on to. Everything she had was about to be left behind. Come, she whispered urgently. Haenguni didn't move. He stayed at the window, watching, waiting. Then, footsteps at the door. Not slow this time, not controlled. Heavy, forceful. They were coming in. Neve's breath hitched. Haenguni! The dog turned. For a second, just a second, their eyes met. And in that moment, something passed between them. Understanding. Choice. Then, a voice came from outside the door. Different from before. Lower, sharper, more dangerous. Step back. The command was not for Neve. It was for the men outside, and they obeyed instantly. The hallway went silent. Then the voice spoke again. Calm, controlled, final. Open it. Neve froze. Her heart stopped, because even without seeing him, she knew this was not just another man. This was someone above all of them. Someone they answered to. Someone Haenguni, slowly, finally, reacted to. The dog stepped forward. Not toward Neve, toward the door. The door opened slowly. No force, no noise, just control. The men outside stepped back at once, not because they were told again, but because they already understood. Then he stepped in. Tall, calm, dressed in black. His presence didn't need volume. It didn't need anger. It carried weight on its own. Neve felt it instantly. This was not just power. This was authority. The kind that didn't explain itself. The kind that didn't repeat orders. Behind him, the hallway stayed silent. No one moved, no one spoke, because everyone there already knew. He had arrived. His eyes moved once across the room, quick, sharp, taking in everything. The broken window, the tension. Neve. Then, they stopped on the dog, and for the first time that night, something shifted. Not emotion, not weakness, recognition. Haenguni. His voice was low, steady, certain. The name didn't sound like a call. It sounded like ownership. Haenguni stood still. The room held its breath. Neve didn't move, didn't speak, didn't even breathe properly, because something told her. This moment mattered, more than anything before. The man took one step forward. Nothing rushed, nothing wasted, just control. Come. A simple command, the kind that should be obeyed, immediately, without question. Haenguni's ears moved. His body shifted slightly, and for a second, just a second, it looked like he would go. Neve's chest tightened, her fingers curled. She didn't even realize she had whispered, "Don't." The word was soft, barely there, but it was enough. Haenguni stopped, completely. Then, slowly, he turned, not toward the man, toward Neve. The silence that followed was heavy, sharp, uncomfortable. The men at the door shifted slightly, confused, watching, waiting, because this was not normal. Haenguni stepped closer to Neve, calm, certain, protective. Then he sat, right beside her, not in front of the man, not halfway, beside her, choosing her, fully. The man didn't react immediately. He didn't raise his voice, didn't show anger. But something behind his eyes darkened, just slightly, enough to change the air. Cho Yang-un, standing behind, watched carefully. Interested, very interested, because this had never happened before. Not once, not with this dog. The man looked at Neve, really looked at her, as if trying to understand something that didn't make sense. Then he spoke, quietly. Why? Neve blinked. Her mind struggled to catch up. Why, what? She asked softly. The man's gaze didn't leave her. Why you? The question was simple, but it carried weight. Heavy, dangerous, like the answer mattered more than anything else. Neve swallowed. I just found him, she said. He was hurt. I helped him. The room stayed silent. The man studied her face, her voice, her fear, her truth. Then his eyes shifted briefly to Haenguni. Still beside her, still unmoving, still choosing. That made something clear. This wasn't random. This wasn't accident. This was a decision. And decisions like this had consequences. The man straightened slightly, then asked one more question. Do you know what he is? Neve shook her head slowly. No. A pause. Then, you will. The man turned away slightly. Not leaving, not yet. Just thinking. The room stayed quiet. No one dared interrupt. No one dared move. Then he spoke again. To you, he is just a dog. His voice was calm, but heavier now, more serious. To me, he is not. He looked back at her. And now... His eyes dropped briefly to Haenguni, then returned to her. You are involved. Neve's heart pounded. I didn't choose this. You did. The interruption was soft, but final, the kind that ended arguments before they started. The man took one step closer, not threatening, not aggressive, just close enough. From the moment you touched him, a pause. You became visible. The word hung in the air, visible, Not safe, not hidden, seen, and in his world. Being seen was dangerous. Then suddenly, a phone rang. One of the men stepped forward quickly, answering in a low voice. His expression changed. Fast, serious, urgent. He looked at the man. "They found the location," he said. A beat. "They're already moving." The room shifted instantly. Not faster now, tighter, more dangerous. The man's gaze returned to Neve, then to Haenguni, and for the first time, there was a decision. The words had barely settled. "They're already moving." When everything changed, the man in black didn't hesitate, didn't ask questions, didn't repeat orders. "Move," he said. The room came alive instantly. The men at the door spread out. One moved toward the hallway, another toward the broken window. Fast, precise, trained. Neve stood frozen. "What's happening?" she asked, her voice shaking. No one answered her, because this wasn't something she needed to understand. It was something she needed to survive. Haenguni moved closer to her again, pressing slightly against her leg, grounding her. The man turned to her. "For the next few minutes," he said calmly, "you do exactly what I say." Neve nodded without thinking, because something in his voice made it clear. This was no longer a choice. The sound came suddenly. Sharp, loud, violent, a gunshot. Neve flinched. Her ears rang. "What was that? Down!" The command came instantly, strong, final. Before she could react, one of the men pulled her down behind the wall. Another shot. Closer this time. Glass shattered somewhere in the building. People shouted, running footsteps, chaos. Haenguni growled again, but this time, it wasn't warning, it was anger. The man in black didn't move carelessly. He stepped slightly to the side, watching, listening, calculating. "They're not here for the dog," one of the men said quickly. "They're here for everything." That made the room colder. Neva's heart pounded harder. Everything? What did that even mean? But deep down, she felt it. This wasn't small. This wasn't random. This was planned. "Back exit," one of the men called. "Blocked." "Front?" "Already covered." Silence hit again. Short, heavy. Then the man spoke. "Then we don't use exits." Neve looked up, confused. "What?" He didn't explain. He turned to her instead. "Can you run?" he asked. The question felt strange, simple, out of place. But Neve nodded quickly. "Yes." He held her gaze for a second, measuring. Then he nodded once. "Good." He turned to the others. 2 minutes, he said. That was all. No plan explained. No long instructions. Just time. And somehow, that was enough. Because every man in that room already knew what to do. Neve didn't. And that terrified her. The man stepped closer to her again, closer than before. "You don't go back to your life after this," he said. Neve's breath caught. "What?" "You are already seen," he continued calmly. "You are already involved." Each word landed heavier than the last. "And if you stay here," a pause, "you will not survive what is coming next." Neve shook her head slightly. "I didn't ask for this." "I know." The interruption was softer this time, but still final. "You don't need to ask," he said. "It already chose you." His eyes moved briefly to Haenguni, then back. "And now," he added quietly, "so did I." Neve froze, before she could respond. He turned away. Decision made. "Now," he said. The word triggered everything. The men moved at once. One threw something small across the room. A loud burst followed. Smoke filled the air. Fast, thick, blinding. Neve coughed. "I can't see!" A hand grabbed her wrist, firm, steady. "Stay with me." His voice, close, controlled. Through the smoke, she felt movement, fast turns, sharp direction changes, Haenguni right beside her, not leaving, not falling behind, always there. Then, a door, not the main one, hidden, opened quickly. Cold air rushed in. "Move," he said again. Neve didn't hesitate. She ran, down narrow stairs, through darkness, out into the night, rain still falling. Harder now, cars waiting, engines running, doors opening. "Get in!" She stopped for 1 second, just one, and looked back, at the building, at her life, at everything she knew. Then, she stepped inside. Haenguni followed. The door slammed shut, and in seconds, they were gone. Because Neve didn't just leave her apartment that night, she left her entire life behind. And the moment that car moved, she entered a world where nothing was simple, nothing was safe, and nothing belonged to her anymore, except one thing: the dog that chose her. The car moved fast, too fast. Neve sat still, her hands clenched tightly in her lap. She didn't speak, didn't ask questions, because something told her answers would not make this easier. Haenguni sat beside her. Calm now, quiet, but still watching everything. Across from her, the man in black sat in silence. His posture relaxed, but his presence still heavy, like the room itself belonged to him. Neve stole a glance at him, then quickly looked away. Her heart was still racing. "Where are we going?" she asked softly. A short pause. "Somewhere safe," he replied. Safe. The word didn't feel real, not anymore. The car slowed, then stopped. Neve looked up. Her breath caught. The place in front of her was nothing like her world. Tall gates, clean lights, wide space. Everything looked expensive, controlled, guarded. Men stood outside, alert and still. The gate opened before the car even reached it. No questions, no delay. They drove in. Neve felt smaller with every second. This place was not normal. This place belonged to someone powerful. The car stopped again. A door opened. "Out!" Neve stepped out slowly. Her eyes moved around, trying to understand, trying to process. But it was too much, too different, too far from everything she knew. Behind her, Haenguni stepped out calmly. Like he had been here before. Like he belonged. Inside was worse, or maybe better. Neve couldn't tell. The space was large, clean, quiet. Everything placed perfectly. Nothing out of line. No noise, no life. Just control. Her footsteps felt too loud, too out of place. She wrapped her arms around herself slightly. Uncomfortable. Watched. The man walked ahead, not checking if she followed, because he already knew she would. At the center of the room, he stopped, then turned. "You will stay here for now," he said, not asking, not suggesting, telling. Neve blinked. "For how long?" A pause, then, "That depends." "On what?" she wanted to ask, but something stopped her, because she was starting to understand. In this place, she didn't control anything. Neve took a breath, then spoke carefully. "Who are you?" The question felt risky, but necessary. The room stayed quiet. For a moment, she thought he wouldn't answer. Then, he stepped closer, not too close, just enough. "You don't need my name," he said. His voice was calm, flat, controlled. Neve held his gaze. For the first time, she didn't look away. "I do," she said softly. A small pause. Something shifted. Not anger, not surprise, just interest again. Then, Jiang Tae-sung. The name settled between them, heavy, important. Neve didn't recognize it, but something told her she should, because the way the others reacted, the way the world moved around him. This was not just a man. This was someone people answered to. Jang Tai-sung's eyes moved to the dog. Do you know what he is? He asked again. Neve shook her head. No. A pause. Then he spoke. Haenguni is not just trained. His voice dropped slightly. He was built. Neve frowned. What does that mean? Jang Tae-sung didn't rush, didn't explain everything, just enough. He protects what matters, he said. His eyes returned to her. And he chooses carefully. Neve felt her chest tighten. Then why me? She asked. The question came out before she could stop it. Jang Tae-sung didn't answer immediately. Instead, he watched her, longer this time, studying, thinking. Then, that's what I want to understand. Silence followed. Heavy, uncomfortable, because now, this wasn't just about the dog anymore. It was about her. Because for the first time, Neve was no longer just involved. She was important, not because of who she was, but because of what the dog had done. And in a world like his, being important was dangerous. Neve barely slept. The room they gave her was bigger than her entire apartment. Clean, cold, perfect. But it didn't feel safe. It felt controlled. Every sound echoed too clearly. Every silence felt too loud. She sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the door, waiting, thinking, trying to understand what she had stepped into. Haenguni lay near her feet, calm, quiet, but awake. Always awake. That alone made her uneasy. You don't even sleep properly? She whispered. The dog didn't move. Morning came slowly. A soft knock sounded at the door. Neve stiffened. Come in, she said carefully. A woman entered, dressed neatly, expression calm, professional. Good morning, she said. You are expected downstairs? Expected, not invited. Neve stood slowly. Expected for what? The woman didn't answer directly. Please follow me. That was all. And somehow, that was enough to make Neve understand. In this place, questions did not always get answers. The hallway was long, quiet, too quiet. Neve walked beside the woman, her steps careful. Her eyes moved around. Men stood at certain points, still, alert, watching, not staring openly, but aware of her. Every one of them. She felt it. Heavy, uncomfortable. Why are they looking at me like that? She asked softly. The woman didn't slow down. Because they were not told to ignore you. That answer made Neve's chest tighten. Not told to ignore her. That meant she was meant to be seen. They reached a large room. The doors opened. Neve stepped inside and stopped. Jang Tai-sung was already there, standing near a table, talking quietly with Cho Yang-eun. Both men turned at the same time. Their eyes landed on her. And just like that, the room felt smaller. Sit, Jang Tai-sung said. Neve hesitated, just for a second. Then she obeyed. The chair felt too soft, too expensive, too unfamiliar. She placed her hands on her lap, trying to stay calm, trying not to show how out of place she felt. Haenguni walked in behind her, calm, confident, like this was normal, like this was home. He moved straight to her side, sat beside her, again, choosing. Cho Yang-eun noticed. His eyes sharpened slightly, then softened, interested again. Has he left your side at all? Cho asked. Neve shook her head. No. That answer stayed in the air. Important. More important than she understood. Jang Tai-sung watched the dog for a moment, then looked back at her. Good, he said. Neve frowned slightly. Good? Why was that good? Jang Tai-sung moved closer, slow, measured. Then he stopped, right in front of her. Stand, he said. Neve blinked. Why? Stand. The second time was firmer, still calm, but final. She stood, her heart beating faster now. Jang Tae-sung turned slightly, and one of the men stepped forward. Unknown, silent, controlled. Neve's body tensed. "What is this?" she asked. No answer. The man moved closer, too close, and that was enough. Haenguni reacted instantly, fast, sharp. He stepped between them, low growl, clear warning. The man stopped, immediately. Jang Tae-sung didn't move, didn't speak. He just watched, carefully, calculating. Then he nodded once, and the man stepped back. Test over. Neve's chest rose quickly. "That was a test?" she asked. Jang Tae-sung didn't deny it. "He chose correctly," Cho Yang-un said quietly. Neve turned to him. "What does that mean?" Cho didn't answer her. He looked at Jang Tae-sung instead. Something unspoken passed between them. Something serious, something concerning. Jang Tae-sung's expression didn't change, but his eyes darkened slightly. Then he spoke. "To protect you like that." A pause. "He sees you as his responsibility." Neve swallowed. "I didn't ask for that." "No," Jang Tae-sung said calmly. "But he did." Silence followed, heavy. Then Cho Yang-un spoke again. "But that is not the problem." Neve's heart tightened. "What problem?" Cho looked at her directly now. For the first time, not just with interest, but with concern. "The problem," he said slowly, "is that he has never done that before." The room went still. Neve's breath caught. Never? That meant this wasn't normal. This wasn't expected. This wasn't safe. Jang Tae-sung turned slightly toward the window, thinking, calculating. Then he spoke quietly. "Find out who else knows." Cho nodded, already understanding, already moving. Neve stood there, confused, uneasy, because now it wasn't just about being hunted. It was about something deeper, something hidden, something wrong. Because somewhere beyond those walls, someone else already knew. Not just about the dog, but about her. And in a world built on control. The moment something unexpected appears, people don't ignore it. They eliminate it. Neve could feel it. The change. It was small at first, almost nothing, but it was there. In the way people looked at her, in the silence that followed her steps, in the way conversation stopped when she entered a room. She stood near the window, arms folded tightly. "This place is not normal," she whispered. Haenguni sat beside her, still, alert, watching, always watching. That made her uneasy now, not safe, uneasy, because if even the dog didn't relax, then something was wrong. Very wrong. Later that day, Neve walked down the hallway alone, for the first time. No escort, no instructions, just silence. She turned a corner and stopped. A man stood there, still, watching her. Not like the others, not professional, not distant. This was different. His eyes stayed on her longer than they should. Cold, sharp, measuring. Neve felt it instantly. Something about him was wrong. "Do you need something?" she asked carefully. The man didn't answer right away. Then, "You're the girl," he said. Not a question, a statement. Neve's chest tightened. "Yes." A pause. Then a small smile touched his lips. But it wasn't friendly. It wasn't warm. It was knowing. Too knowing. "You shouldn't be here," he said quietly. Neve's heart skipped. Before she could respond, he walked past her. Slow. Calm. Like nothing had happened. But everything had. That night, Neve couldn't stop thinking about him. The way he looked at her. The way he spoke. "You shouldn't be here." The words repeated in her mind, over and over. She sat on the bed, restless. What does that even mean? she muttered. Haenguni stood suddenly. Alert, focused. She turned. What is it? The dog moved toward the door, paused, then looked back at her, waiting, like he wanted her to follow. Neve hesitated, then stood, slowly, carefully. She opened the door. The hallway was empty, quiet, too quiet. Haenguni stepped out first, leading, not wandering, leading. Neva followed, her heartbeat rising, because something told her. This was not random, this was not nothing, this was a warning, and she was about to understand it. They stopped near a closed door, voices inside, low, serious. Neve froze. She shouldn't listen. She knew that, but she couldn't move. She's already here, one voice said, familiar. The man from earlier, cold, sharp. The second voice answered. And the dog? A short pause. Still with her. Silence. Then, that makes things easier. Neve's breath caught. Easier? What about Taesung? The second voice asked. The first man let out a quiet laugh. He doesn't know everything. Neve's chest tightened. What did that mean? Then, we move before he finds out. Her heart stopped. Move? Before he finds out? That wasn't right. That wasn't safe. That meant someone here was working against him. Neve stepped back slightly, too fast. Her foot made a soft sound, small, but enough. The voices stopped instantly. Silence. Dead silence. Haenguni tensed. Low growl. The door opened. Fast. The man stepped out. The same man? The one who had watched her? This time, there was no smile. Only cold. Only certainty. Only danger. Neve's breath caught. You heard that? He said. Not a question. A fact. She couldn't lie. Her silence answered for her. The man stepped closer. Slow. Deliberate. Then that's a problem? He said quietly. Haenguni moved in front of her instantly, growling. Louder now, stronger. But the man didn't step back, didn't react, didn't care, because his attention wasn't on the dog. It was on her. And in that moment, Neve understood something clearly. This man was not afraid of anything, because now, the danger was no longer outside. It was inside, closer, watching, waiting. And Neve had just made the worst mistake possible. She had learned something. She was never meant to know. The hallway felt smaller now. Too small, too tight. Neve couldn't move, couldn't speak, couldn't even breathe properly. You heard that? The man repeated. His voice was calm. Too calm. The kind of calm that didn't need to shout. Haenguni growled louder, stepping forward, blocking, protecting, but the man didn't stop. Didn't step back, didn't even look at the dog. His eyes stayed on Neve, sharp, cold, locked. That makes you a problem, he said. Neve's chest tightened. I didn't mean to. I know. The interruption was soft, almost polite, but it carried no kindness. And that doesn't change anything. One more step closer, now too close. Neve's heart pounded hard. Her hands shook slightly. Because she understood something now. This man had already made a decision. Stay where you are, he said. It sounded like an order, but not one meant to be followed, one meant to control. Neve didn't move anyway, because she couldn't, because her body refused. Haenguni stepped forward again, this time more aggressive, more ready, more dangerous. The man finally glanced at the dog, just once, then back at her. Even he won't be enough, he said quietly. Neve's stomach dropped. Before she could react, he reached into his jacket, fast, smooth, controlled, and pulled out a weapon. Everything froze. Time slowed. Neve's breath stopped. Haenguni's growl turned sharp. explosive, ready to attack. And then a voice cut through the hallway. Stop! The word was calm, low, final. The man froze, just slightly, then straightened. Slowly, because he knew that voice. Everyone did. Jiang Taisung stepped into the hallway, alone. No rush, no panic, just control. His eyes moved once, taking in the scene, the weapon, Neve, the dog. Then they settled on the man. Silence. Heavy. Sharp. Explain, Jiang Taisung said. The man didn't answer immediately. Then, she heard something she shouldn't have, he replied. Truth. Simple, clear. Jiang Taisung's gaze didn't shift. Put it away. The man hesitated. Just for a second. That was enough. The air changed. Danger rose. Then, slowly, he lowered the weapon. Not because he wanted to, because he had to. Jiang Taisung stepped closer. Now the distance between them was small. Too small. You were not given that decision, he said. His voice didn't rise, didn't sharpen, but it carried weight, the kind that pressed down, hard. The man held his gaze, calm, but not relaxed. She's a risk, he said. She's alive, Jiang Taisung replied. A pause, sharp, clear, final. The man didn't speak again because he understood. The line had been drawn, and he had stepped over it. Jiang Taisung turned slightly. Cho Yangyun. The name alone was enough. Footsteps approached, quick, controlled. Cho appeared beside them, silent, ready. Remove him, Jiang Taisung said. No anger, no explanation, just decision. The man's jaw tightened, but he didn't fight, didn't argue, because that would only make it worse. Cho gave a small nod, and the man was taken away. Silence returned, but it felt different now. Heavier, closer. Jiang Taisung turned to Neve, his gaze steady, reading her, measuring her. You are no longer a guest, he said. Neve's breath caught. Then what am I? A pause. Then, responsibility. The word hit harder than expected. Not comfort, not safety, responsibility. That meant she wasn't free. She wasn't leaving. She was staying. Because he decided. Haenguni moved slightly closer to her again. Calm, certain, still choosing. Jiang Taisung noticed. Of course he did. He noticed everything. Then he spoke again, quietly. From now on, you don't move alone. Neve swallowed. And if I do? A small pause. Then, you won't get the chance. Silence, deep, heavy, final. Because now, everything had changed. Because Neve was no longer just involved. She was now part of something she couldn't leave. Watched, protected, controlled. And somewhere inside that same place, there were still people who wanted her gone. And next time, they might not wait. The room was quiet, too quiet. Neve sat still, her thoughts racing. Everything had changed. Too fast, too deep. She looked at Haenguni, still beside her, still choosing her. Why me? She whispered. This time, she wasn't the only one listening. Jiang Taisung stood by the window, looking out at the city. Then, you remind him of someone. Neve looked up, confused. Who? A pause. Then, my sister. The words landed softly, but heavy. Neve's breath caught. She saved him, he continued, years ago. Silence. She died not long after. Neve's chest tightened. Something shifted inside her. Understanding, connection. That was it. That was why. Haenguni doesn't forget, Jiang Taisung said. His voice was calm, but different now. Less distant, more real. He remembers who protects him. Neve looked at the dog again. Her eyes softened slightly. So, he stayed because of that? Jiang Taisung shook his head once. No. A pause. He stayed because he chose you. That hit harder. because it meant something simple, something real. This wasn't past. This wasn't memory. This was now. This was a decision. And that made it dangerous, because anything that breaks control becomes a threat. The door opened suddenly, fast, urgent. Cho Yang-un stepped in, serious, focused. "They're inside," he said. The room shifted instantly. Tension rose, sharp. "Who?" Neve asked, but she already knew. The answer came anyway. "The ones who don't answer to us." Silence, heavy. Then, gunshots echoed in the distance, closer, this time, inside the building. Neve flinched, her heart raced. Jang Tae-sung didn't move, didn't panic. He just turned, decision already made. "Stay behind me," he said. Everything moved fast. Men rushed past. Orders were given. Voices low, precise, controlled chaos. Neve stood behind Jang Tae-sung, her breath uneven, her body tense. Haenguni stepped in front of both of them. "Ready?" Then, footsteps, fast, close. The door burst open. 3 men, weapons raised. No hesitation, no warning. Haenguni moved first, explosive, direct. One man went down instantly. The second fired. A shot rang out. Neve gasped, but Jang Tae-sung stepped forward, calm, precise, controlled. The threat ended in seconds. Silence returned, but heavier, stronger, final. Neve stood frozen, because now, she had seen it. This world, this reality, this truth. There was no going back. The danger passed. For now. The room settled again. But Neve didn't. She couldn't, because everything inside her had changed. She looked at Jang Tae-sung, then at Haenguni, then back at the door. "I can't go back, can I?" she asked softly. Jang Tae-sung didn't answer immediately. Then, "No, simple, honest, final." Neve nodded slowly, not scared, not confused, just understanding, because now she knew. This wasn't something she walked into. This was something that found her. And now, she was part of it. Haenguni sat beside her again, calm, certain, still choosing. And this time, Neve didn't question it. Because in a world ruled by power, not everything is decided by money, not everything is controlled by force. Sometimes, the most dangerous thing is a choice. A dog that chose her, a man who couldn't ignore it, and a girl who stepped into a world she could never leave. Welcome to the mafia's obsession, where power, loyalty, and obsession collide. If this story kept you watching, then you already know. This is only the beginning, because in this world, every choice has a price, and some choices change everything.